Hard to believe it's November 8th when you look at the weather conditions here in Chicago. Wind is down relatively speaking, and the temperature is up 65 degrees. Couldn't be nicer. And these are two teams that no doubt are trying to figure out how good they are. Whether it's Arizona, the defending NFC champions, or it's the Chicago Bears after that offseason pickup of Jay Cutler. They've ridden a roller coaster already in the first weeks of 2009. Arizona won the toss. They get the football, and kicking it is Larod Stevens Howling, and can't make the 20. Just a 13-yard return, and we look at Kurt Warner and this offense, and a running game that comes in last in the NFL after finishing last in the NFL a year ago, and 29th in Ken Wisenhunt's first year.
And they came into this season really putting an emphasis on being able to run the football better. And they've actually gone the other way. As hard as that is to imagine, they run the ball less effectively this year than what they did a year ago.
Starting at their own 19, Warner is going to start with a throw and has Fitzgerald open and complete. So it's Fitzgerald, and it's no Anquan Bolden, who's out with his sprained ankle.
I was a little surprised actually that he did not play today. I saw him in pregame warmups. He looked very good. I know there was a concern last week when he played. He got through part of that game, re-aggravated it, couldn't play the rest of the game. They didn't want to experience another setback like that here today.
2nd and 10 for Arizona. Blitz coming, and Warner just dumps it off. Tommy Harris ends up on top of Kurt Warner, and it's 3rd and 10.
4-man rush by the Chicago Bears. You're going to see Tommy Harris there, and he just comes unblocked. A miscommunication there at the left guard spot. Reggie Wales. And Tommy Harris, who has really been banged up, sat down 2 weeks ago, got an opportunity again last week, and played like the Tommy Harris that they're hoping will play the rest of this year.
It's 3rd down and 10 as Warner steps up, throws wide open for the catch is Steve Breaston. So on 3rd down and 10, a completion of 23 yards and a 1st down for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and that's an area where this team has been struggling, is on 3rd down, and yet they're able to pick up their first one here today. And you know, here they are with the square in with Breaston, and they respect him on the outside. Zachary Bowman, the corner. A couple of balls now, what we've seen from Kurt Warner, they've come out a little soft on him.
I'm right here, babe. I'm right here. Right here. Right here.
7th catch of this season for 20 or more yards for Breaston, and here is Hightower right through the heart of this Chicago defense. To the Chicago 45, a 13-yard run. And now activity after the play was well over, and it's Tommy Harris who did something, as you look at this defense for Chicago, to Deuce Latui, and Latui can't get up. I mean, it was way at the end of the play, well after the whistles, and now Latui can't get to his feet. And let's go back and see.
Personal foul after the play. Unnecessary roughness. Defense number 91. He is ejected from the game. 15-yard penalty. He slugged the player in the head. 15 yards, 1st down.
So it's not just a 15-yard penalty, but Tommy Harris is ejected from the game, a guy who was basically benched 2 weeks ago. What a start in this game for Chicago. Arizona converted on a 3rd and 10. A big run by Hightower. Here's the play at the end of it. Tommy Harris is ejected for slugging Deuce Latui in the face mask.
Yeah, at the end of that play, you got Latui, who's on top. He's on the back there of Tommy Harris. Tommy Harris rolls him over and then takes the shot. And as you can see, Ed Hockley standing right there.
So now 1st down for the Cardinals at the Chicago 30. Warner steps up and throws for Fitzgerald. And it's a first down inside the 20. Tillman on coverage. And he'll have a lot of Larry Fitzgerald today. A 13-yard completion. And Tommy Harris is ejected from the game and has to leave the field.
You see Charles Tillman's up in tight coverage there on Larry Fitzgerald, which is what Larry Fitzgerald likes. He prefers for a corner to play him tight because he's such a big physical wide receiver. He then is able to use his body to his advantage. Charles Tillman will be shadowing Fitzgerald throughout much of this game.
Handoff is to Beanie Wells. And the rookie stays on his feet, pushes forward, and picks up 7.
That's a heck of a job right there by Beanie Wells, finishing off that run. Once contact is made, Tillman comes up, goes high. You're better off trying to tackle a guy like Wells down low, but then he keeps going. And Beanie Wells, he's a young guy doing some things at the NFL game that he wasn't asked to do there at Ohio State. More of a receiver, pass protection, but he has got a bright future ahead of him.
Hunter Hillenmeyer on your left missed 2 games with a rib injury. Nick Roach now moves back into the middle. Jamar Williams checks in, 2nd and 4 from the 11. Handoff is to Hightower, and he gets nothing. Bears defense makes a play. And it'll be 3rd down as Agunlia was in the middle of that for Chicago. And now for the Bears, just trying to keep Arizona out of the end zone here to start the afternoon.
Yeah, and it's a good start to the game here for the Arizona Cardinals. Not surprising. They've done a good job of this throughout the season. The only team that has scored more points on their opening possession offensively to start a game is the New Orleans Saints.
It's 3rd down and 3. Warner with a pocket and completes to Fitzgerald for the touchdown. On this tackle, Tillman couldn't bring him down, 11 yards. And it's a quick strike on the opening possession for the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, and the Bears bring the linebackers up the middle. They're going to bring them here, but Tim Hightower does a great job here at tailback in picking it up. You see him step up. He denies the linebacker blitz straight into the face then of Kurt Warner, which then provides man coverage and Larry Fitzgerald one-on-one.
So Fitzgerald gets his 6th touchdown of the season. And for as much as we can talk about the Chicago Bears and their offensive problems, there have certainly been some defensive problems as well since they went to the Super Bowl in 2006. We'll get into that as this game wears on. Here is Danielle Manning on the return. And Manning, with a penalty flag down, is out to the 26. So while Ed Hockley sorts it out, Jay Cutler in this 20th ranked offense, which even in victory last week came out a very frustrated group.
During the return, holding by the receiving team number 21. Half the distance to the goal. Chicago keeps the ball, 1st down.
That's Corey Graham, guilty of the penalty, and we go back to the touchdown to Fitzgerald.
Watch the block here by Tim Hightower. That's why he is the 3rd down back for this Cardinals team, and this is why Larry Fitzgerald likes physical coverage. You see the separation because he's able to go up and bang on Tillman, and then once he gets a step, it was pretty much over.
So this drive starts near the 10-yard line, and the pass is complete to Olsen, the tight end, picks up 9. Carlos Dansby on the tackle for Arizona, and an early smile from Jay Cutler, and we haven't seen a lot of that from Cutler because he has been pounded here by defenses not protected well by the offensive line.
He's been hit a lot. He's been sacked a lot. There's a tendency to blame that all on the offensive line. That's not the case. There have been times when the line has done a good job, but coverage has not allowed him to get rid of the football. And then there's been times when Cutler has held it longer than what he should.
2nd down and 1. Quick setup and throw to Bennett. That's a 1st down for Chicago. Gain of 5. McFadden on the stop for Arizona. And here's a look at the defense, which comes in ranked 18th in the NFL for Arizona in this 3-4 run by Bill Davis.
I think this defense has got a chance to be really good. I mean, they're improved from where they were a year ago, particularly on third down and keeping people out of the end zone. But they've got good players across the board.
On first down, Cutler throws, airs it out, and Hester makes the catch. Tremendous throw and catch from Jay Cutler to Devin Hester for 42 yards.
Yeah, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, the second-year player, and you know, he's one of these corners who believes that he can just run with anybody. Now, he does a pretty good job. He's in a good position. Just a perfectly thrown ball by Jay Cutler. Right out on the sidelines. You see Cromartie never gets turned around to locate the ball. But great concentration by Hester, but an excellent throw.
Last 3 games, only Larry Fitzgerald across the NFL's caught more balls than Devin Hester. So he's starting to figure it out, and this one is thrown away. Second down and 10. And the pass complete to Bennett. And Bennett picks up a yard. Ali Highsmith, who makes the start today for Gerald Hayes, who's out with a bad back, is there to make the stop. And it'll bring up third down and long for the Chicago offense.
So we talk about the offensive line play and the amount of times that Jay Cutler has been hit. In no way am I excusing their play. They have struggled. They've really struggled in run blocking, but they have also had some problems and some breakdowns within pass protection.
Third down and 9. Blitz coming from Arizona. Down the middle of the field for Olsen for the touchdown.
That's a good way to start the game there for Chicago as well. You see the concentration. He knew where he wanted to go with the ball, got coverage, but initially there was nobody open. Even Olsen, who's going down the middle. Adrian Wilson was in a good spot. Not a great cover guy, but you see where Wilson thought that he had him covered, didn't expect the ball to then be thrown to him. Olsen just continued to play, and Jay Cutler gave him a chance.
And before the snap, whistles and flags, and we'll get the call from Ed Hockley. Olsen now with 4 touchdowns in his last 6 games.
Encroachment, defense number 24. That 5-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. Retry from the 2-yard line.
Well, you look at that. I mean, Jay Cutler told us on Friday, hey, we got to get Olsen more involved. And you know, not a lot of quarterbacks would have just thrown that one and given him a shot, but that's a pretty good picture of the confidence that Jay Cutler has and Greg Olsen being able to come down with the ball.
Not one running play on that drive. Cutler starts 5 of 6 for 90 yards. Middle linebacker and signal caller Hunter Hillenmeyer getting his ribs and midsection taped up. I mentioned he missed 2 games with a rib injury. They're trying to fix that on the sideline. Meanwhile, Greg Olsen, 33-yard touchdown catch from Jay Cutler. And it came on 3rd and 9. Bears went 90 yards on that drive all through the air. Now one running play as LaRod Stevens-Howling carries it back. And Garrett Wolf makes the play after a 30-yard return, and we go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, when I spoke to Anquan Bolden before the game, he seemed bewildered. There was any doubt that his lingering ankle injury might keep him out. He showed no ill effects during a lengthy warm-up, but Ken Wisenhunt didn't like the field's conditions. He felt the surface was way too soft. Anquan walked past me later, kind of rolled his eyes, clearly annoyed at his coach's last-minute decision to sit him, which had a lot to do with schedule, Joe, and the Cardinals got 4 division games left.
Yeah, I think that might be the bigger point. Thank you, Pam. We'll talk about it. So Bolden is inactive today. First down for Arizona, and Warner back to throw. Plenty of time, and the pass is caught by Fitzgerald on an impressive diving grab in front of Tillman, 13 yards.
Well, it's one-on-one outside right now. They have not yet given Charles Tillman any help. You know, they were on the sideline saying that he didn't have control of it as he goes to the ground, but his hands clearly underneath the ball right there. Maybe that left hand comes off of it a little bit, but not enough there to be ruled incomplete. Yeah, I just think that they're going to need to give Charles Tillman a little help from time to time on Larry Fitzgerald.
Here is Beanie Wells over the left side, and he takes Danielle Manning for a ride. And Beanie Wells with a couple of impressive runs. The rookie gets 14 on this one.
Yeah, I really like Beanie Wells. When he's gotten his opportunities to carry the football, he's done a good job with it. In fact, he's been more productive than what Tim Hightower has been. And the thing that has impressed me is his ability to finish runs. We saw it earlier on the first possession, and here's another good example of it. He just got hurt in training camp, so they haven't been able to use him in certain situations when they're throwing the football, and as we know, that's what the Cardinals do best.
And now it's a false start against Arizona. And Ed Hockley wants to make sure of the number. And now wants to make sure of the call. The one official came in and spun his arms like false start, and now they get together and maybe want to overrule the other.
Looks like Ed Hockley brought the gun show to town again this week, too.
Weather's nice. Go short sleeves. Nobody was happier it was 65 than Ed. Man.
The center snapped the ball at the same time that one lineman moved. Therefore, it was a legal snap. There is no foul. There is no play. Replay, first down.
So in other words, our fault. We shouldn't have shut down the play.
I think that's what the translation was.
Could have just said, hey, look, everybody, our bad.
Yeah, let me tell you, Ed Hockley's getting real tired of having to say my bad.
First down for Arizona. So there is no penalty, no 5 yards either way.
Right here.
Out of the shotgun, Warner throws and completes. That's Hightower. And Tim Hightower fights his way for another Arizona first down. And so far, neither defense has shown up here in this early start on Sunday, November 8th.
Yeah, of course, Arizona, they haven't gotten the real big play, but they've been awfully consistent in what they've done here in the early going.
It's Brian Urlacher, who is obviously the heart and soul of this defense, six-time Pro Bowler. Lost for the season, and so now trying to fill in the middle, and Hunter Hillenmeyer's back in there. As you look at Fitzgerald at the top, one-on-one with Tillman. Warner, nothing develops, and Warner brought down from behind. The play made by Alex Brown after a gain of 3, second down coming up.
Yeah, you saw Kurt Warner once he got set up in the pocket. He came back wanting to go to Fitzgerald, had one-on-one, but right there when he tried to get to the outside, Tillman was there to disrupt the timing of that route. And then Kurt Warner had to try to find somewhere else to go with the football and just make as much of it as he could.
Second down and 7. Right now, Arizona on the edge of field goal range. Now they're inside it as early Doucette makes his first catch of the season. Last year as a rookie made 14 receptions, 90 yards. With Anquan Bolden being inactive, Doucette gets a chance and picks up 11.
Yeah, they've liked Doucette. Unfortunately, it's been a numbers game to where they just haven't been able to get him, active on game day. But you're right. Today he's now being given his opportunity, and nice execution there by the offensive line. We saw the Bears try the exact same play. They didn't execute it as well. Cardinals pick up the first down.
And off to Hightower, room to run. And Tim Hightower with another big run picks up 11, a first down as Bowman makes the stop. And so far the Chicago defense isn't able to stop anything.
Well, these are some of the things that these Cardinal running backs just haven't had an opportunity to see much of. You're going to see Dan Kreider, the fullback, he comes around and he seals off the linebacker level, which then creates a little bit of a lane. Breston there trying to make a block as well, but it allows then them some ability to get some yards running the football with a clean lane.
How about the Cardinals? 10 first downs on only 14 plays as Beanie Wells does not go down immediately again. Takes it down to the 6, picked up 5. Briggs.
And this is encouraging for this Cardinals offense because, as we have said, they have not run the football very well. And for them to come out in this game and do a pretty good job, that as we move through, keep an eye, because we're going to start seeing some of the play action stuff, which basically is non-existent with this Cardinal team because linebackers don't have to respect the running game.
2nd and 5. Throw out to the right for Doucette, and he's brought down. And a good play is made out there by Agunlia. No gain on the play. This is an Arizona offense that's averaging here in this opening quarter over 7 yards per run. So they've made a good statement here at the start against Chicago.
And this is a Bears defense that has really had problems stopping people down here in this area of the field.
It's 3rd down and 5. Warner over the middle for a touchdown. Catch is made by the tight end Patrick. 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns, and 2 touchdown throws for Kurt Warner, who has 13 on the year.
Well, initially Kurt Warner, he wanted to come outside to Larry Fitzgerald. A little different technique there by Tillman, so he was over the top. But Warner, things happen awfully quickly down here in the red zone, and he got off him very quick. Finds Ben Patrick, the tight end. These tight ends for Arizona don't get a lot of balls thrown their way.
Rackers knocks it through. 14-7 Arizona lead. Last one to Ben Patrick, his 2nd touchdown of the season. And now the Bears are going to get it back with under 3.5 to play first quarter. This is the rookie Knox. Will take it out of the end zone. Johnny Knox showing his speed, and a good tackle is made by Greg Toller. And Toller, a rookie, you could see that play develop, may have saved a touchdown with that effort, coming in to make the stop on Johnny Knox. A 30-yard return.
Yeah, that was a great tackle there by Toller, because you're right, I saw exactly what you did, Joe, and that he gets by him, and there wasn't anyone left to stop Johnny Knox, and no one was going to catch him. That guy can run.
Bears still haven't run it, and a little pump fake down this side of the field for Devin Hester, and overthrown. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie on the coverage on this side of the field now, and it's 2nd and 10.
Well, you can see the Bears coming into this game wanting to get the ball down the field. They hit Hester on the first possession. They got the touchdown then to Greg Olsen. They come right back here to Devin Hester, and part of that being the game plan, part of it just seeing the way this game's unfolding. Cardinals have 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns, and this could very easily turn into a shootout.
Smith, I'm right here.
First carry of the day, and it is Matt Forte. More fodder for John Riggins. How about his week? Taking on Dan Snyder and the entire organization. It's 3rd down and 6. Nice pocket for Cutler, who drops it off for Forte. 1st down and more out to the 44. Adrian Wilson made the stop. A 13-yard catch and run by Matt Forte.
Arizona has tried a few different things. They bring Matt Ware right here off the edge, and Chicago here in the early going is doing a much better job of protecting Jay Cutler. And he's got a nice pocket, not much down the field, comes underneath. And Matt Forte, not a guy who you're going to really split out and have run a lot of different type routes like we see from a Brian Westbrook or we once did from Marshall Faulk, but yet he is a good receiving tailback.
They try to reverse it to Devin Hester, and that play goes straight backward. Play was made by Clark Hagens, a loss of 10.
You know, it just seems like Chicago, whenever they try to do something a little outside the box, it doesn't go like they're hoping to. Last week, they had a play when things were going pretty well for them offensively at a Wildcat. They got stopped for about a 9-yard loss. Here they pick up a first down. They try the reverse to Hester. And these types of plays, when you have that happen on early downs, they're just very, very difficult then to overcome and pick up a first down.
Brings up 2nd down and 20. Cutler moves to his right and will take off, and he gets popped. Hit along the sideline by Dansby. A gain of 3, and Jay Cutler will feel that one for a while.
This is some of what I've seen in watching the Bears. When Jay Cutler starts to scramble, which he's very good at, these guys do not do a very good job of continuing to work to get open. Greg Olson was covered there initially by Adrian Wilson, but Cutler is so good at looking down the field on the run that these receivers have got to do a better job of continuing to work for him so that he has somewhere to go with it.
It's 3rd down and 16. Cutler buys some time and comes underneath to Forte. And he's only to the Bear 49, short of first down yardage, and you can trace the end of that drive back to that reverse to Hester on first down.
Yeah, and then there's just nowhere to go with the football, and there's a 3-man rush by Arizona, so yeah, you're going to have people in coverage, 8 guys dropping off, but as you can tell, just nowhere. So you've got Cutler holding the football with time, but just nowhere to go.
There's Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator, with 3 seconds and counting left in the quarter. That'll be the end of the quarter. Brad Maynard will punt it as we start the second quarter here in Chicago. 14-7, Arizona on top. And Preston will take it from the 15. Chance for a return, and Preston is out to the 30. Brought down by McClover, and we go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Hey there, Joe. Lovie Smith gathered up the defense after their last series. He stressed communication. Lovie did a similar thing for the defense after they struggled against Cincinnati. But right then, Lovie emphasized there's nothing the defense can do about the 14 points they've given up to the Cards so far. He described this series as perhaps the most critical of the day.
Well, let's see how it unfolds. Lovie has taken over the play calling on that defense after 2 years of Bob Babich. Starting at their own 30, Arizona completes to Doucette. Briggs was close to making a play, did not make the play, and a 14-yard completion to early Doucette, who's been busy here in the first half.
And the way that they've got to be able to slow down Arizona is to then bring pressure on Kurt Warner. They bring the safety Al Afalava off the edge, but Beanie Wells does a good job of picking that up. And then there's the one-on-one on the outside. But, you know, the front four from Chicago, if they are going to be able to slow down Arizona, they have got to win the one-on-one battles up front and get pressure on Kurt without secondary help.
Handoff is to Wells, and how about this run by the rookie down to the Chicago 30. Crowd is out of the game. The defense isn't stopping anything, and 26-yard carry for number 26, Beanie Wells.
Yeah, you're going to see him come through here, and he's got great vision. You know, sometimes a back with his kind of speed can be a little bit quick. You see the move once he got in there, and that's really kind of what they have worked with him on, and just being a little bit more patient. But you watch him in these games in the early going, and he does a good job of seeing the hole, and once he sees it, he's got the explosion to get through it.
That was the longest run by the Cardinals this season, as Wells gets it again, and this time he's bottled up after 1.5 yards. So a divisional battle in part of the reason We talked about earlier that Anquan Bolden is inactive for this game, trying to get over the hump with that sprained right ankle. 2nd and 8. Handoff to Hightower. And Tim Hightower's to the 25. Briggs on the stop, a gain of 3.
Well, that time Anthony Adams was able to beat his man and get into the backfield. But Hightower showing a little bit of quickness himself in being able to get away from where the play was intended and cut back. He starts play side. Adams is there, and he comes right off of that. I'll tell you right now, I mean, this is as good as we've seen this Arizona team run the ball in quite some time. Ken Wisenhunt coming in said we've got to be able to run the football in this game, and they've done that.
It's 3rd down and 5 as the crowd tries to inspire this defense. Timeout taken by Warner. He is beloved here in Chicago and a part of our baseball coverage on Fox. Mark Grace, who was with us in New York and Philadelphia during the World Series, checking this one out. 3rd down and 5 for Arizona. Blitz coming from Chicago, and it's Fitzgerald with a grab for a 1st down. Down just outside the 16-yard line, 8 yards. And that's when Warner's at his best, getting rid of it quickly on a blitz.
And he's also at his best when those guys up front are picking up the linebacker blitzes in the twist and giving him time. And then that provides the one-on-ones that we've already seen. That's how Larry Fitzgerald scored his first touchdown. But right now, this offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals, whether it's in protection or run blocking, they are absolutely dominating the defensive front of the Bears.
Warner, who's had 10 straight completions, makes it 11 to Larry Fitzgerald for the touchdown. His 2nd of the day. And Fitzgerald is in, able to get his feet inbounds, the ball around the pylon for the touchdown.
Well, Charles Tillman's in outside or off coverage, and you see him go to the post. Larry Fitzgerald goes to the post, gets Tillman turned around, and then it's just an easy touchdown. I mean, right now, Arizona is making this look awfully easy offensively.
And that is a touchdown as Fitzgerald got the ball inside the pylon. Got both feet down. And the extra point will be coming to make it 21-7.
You know, I think Charles Tillman is a good corner in this league, but you're talking about maybe the best wide receiver in football in Larry Fitzgerald, and asking anybody to cover Larry Fitzgerald one-on-one without help is a losing proposition.
And how about Fitzgerald, just to back you up statistically? 35 touchdown catches in his last 35 games. And we'll see what the Bears offense can do about what's happened on the other side of the ball. Bears defense has stumbled right out of the gate. Here's a little pop-up kick. And this ball is live, and for a moment recovered by Arizona. Do they keep it? Rackers popped it up. Israel Idonije kind of let it go behind him, and once it took a bounce and checked up, it's a live football. And then the scramble for it. And it belongs to Arizona. How about that?
Yeah, it looked well now.
And now Ed Hockley changes his mind.
I was gonna say, it looked initially to me like it was Arizona's ball all the way. This ball was kicked really in no man's land, where Idonije really didn't know what to do with it, and it lands then right in front of Rashid Davis as well, and nobody had any real urgency of going after it. I just couldn't tell if that was the intention there of Racker or not.
I think it was, and Will Davis, number 59, a rookie out of Illinois, had his arms around it. And Hockley's making an announcement. He initially signaled that it belonged to Arizona, then reversed direction and said it belongs to Chicago. And what a big turn of events there.
Boy, no kidding. What a huge break there for the Chicago Bears. I mean, as well as Arizona is playing offensively, to then give them the ball, inside the 30-yard line.
Quick throw, and it's Devin Hester. Get it in his hands and see what he can do. And Devin Hester is out of bounds up near the 35. Dansby on the stop, a gain of 6.
Well, this is hard right now for the Chicago Bears. We talked about it coming into this ball game, the fact that there's some frustration on this offensive side of the ball, not being more productive than they have been. And they look good then on the opening possession, but because their defense can't stop anybody, this is hard when you're down 14 points. It takes you out of some of the things that you had intended on doing when the game began.
Right here.
See Green Bay, Tampa Bay tied at 14. Here's a pass complete to Bennett, and that's good for a first down at the 40. So a good game there, and they may not get out of those throwback uniforms.
Well, you got Green Bay and you got Chicago. I mean, they're trying to maintain pace with the Minnesota Vikings. Neither team looking good today.
Here is Forte with a nice run. To the 44-yard line.
You know, a lot of discussion of Matt Forte and how he has run the ball, or has he been as good as what he can be. And early on I'd say yeah, he probably was not running the ball as well as what he's capable of, but the last several weeks I think he's gotten about as much out of the running game as there has been to get. I mean, there has not been many running lanes for him.
I'm right here.
Handoff is to Forte, so now a couple of good runs back to back. Forte picks up 5.
They bring Hester around as if they may hand it to him on a reverse again. Based on what happened on that first reverse, they can run him around all they want. I don't think they're going to respect him. I don't know that Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator, has it in him to try that reverse play again today.
Lost 10 the first time and stopped their second possession in its tracks. Blitz coming from Arizona. Cutler trying to stay alive and can't. Wrestled down back at the 50, and it's Darnell Dockett who gets up and looks at the Chicago sideline and puts his palms up like, well, what do you expect me to do? That's what I do. I'm Darnell Dockett.
Little pressure off the edge. That's why Cutler has to step up. But because he flushes that way, I mean, Roberto Garza, the right guard, he's not expecting Cutler to then take off to his side. So he was actually in pretty good position to make the block. Cutler more or less ran into that one because of the pressure he had off the edge. Jay Cutler told us the other day that he was as sore coming into this game today as he has been at any other point at this point in the season any other year.
Here's Cutler underneath the Hester. Nice catch, but not much after that. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie made the stop, a gain of 3. The sack by Darnell Dockett factors in, took it from a 3rd and 5 to a 3rd and 15, and just 3 yards after that to Hester. Another punt from Maynard.
Well, and Jay Cutler right now coming off the field, he is, as he was last week, frustrated. He's showing some of that frustration here this afternoon.
Here is Preston making the catch, no fair catch, and he is wrestled down from behind. Well, for the longest time around here in Chicago, as you look at the Cardinals' offensive leaders, the common refrain has been, well, if we just had a quarterback, if we just had a quarterback. But there are other issues on this Bears team, and right now the Arizona offense is exposing a lot of problems on this Chicago defense. And that hits Larry Fitzgerald right between the 1 and the 1 in his back, and it's 2nd down and 10. And I think that that's really the story. What's gone on here in the first half. This Chicago defense doesn't look like it can stop anything right now.
No, and they haven't. I mean, Arizona, a difficult loss last week. Kurt Warner, 5 interceptions, another fumble, 6 turnovers. On the day, you had to believe that he was going to come out and look pretty sharp, and he's done that. Yes, Arizona wanted to run the football. I don't think anyone anticipated they would be able to do it the way they have here in this first half.
Here is Beanie Wells, who was out for a moment, had his chest looked at. He went into the dressing room, back out there, carries it on 2nd and 10, picks up 5, so a 3rd down, and this is where the Chicago defense needs to make a play. So far, Arizona's had 3 possessions, 3 touchdown drives of 81 yards, 74 yards, and 70 yards. And what a difference from a week ago. 4 for 4 on 3rd down of the Cardinals. Pass is complete. That's Preston, and that's another Arizona 1st down. Now 5 for 5 on 3rd down. Is Arizona. Kevin Payne made the stop for Chicago.
I can't say enough right now about this Cardinals offensive line. They're shoring everything up inside, and then you're going to see the pull here to get out in front of this slip screen. And you see they got a body on a body, and then what Preston does a good job of is knowing exactly where he needed to get to pick up that 1st down. He just went and got it. But this line, I mean, the Bears have brought linebackers, and they've picked it up every time.
Here's Hightower. Plenty of room to run, and Tim Hightower with all of a sudden a very good ground attack for the Arizona Cardinals, picks up 14 yards.
Well, the Bears, I mean, when you see an offense going through you the way that they are just getting manhandled along that defensive line. And then the line is also, for the Cardinals, they're able to get to that 2nd level on the linebackers, and that's why we're seeing some of these gaping holes that the runners now for Arizona have been able to get through.
Arizona's ground game, their season average 64.9 yards per game. They're already at 101. Season high is 118. Still over 5 left in the 1st half, and Warner gets rid of it. He threw it to Beck. Israel Idonije almost brought down Kurt Warner, but could not. And it's 2nd and 10.
Well, that's one of the few times they've even gotten near Kurt Warner today. And as I said, I mean, you think about the Bears defensively in recent years when they've been good. It's been that front 4. It's been the pass rushers off the edge. And yet those guys just have not played to the level that they're expected to, whether that's Ogunleye, of course, Mark Anderson. He had his chance as a rookie, played well. He has not been the same player since. And then Alex Brown, who gives great effort, but they just haven't consistently got after the quarterback.
Remember, opening drive, Tommy Harris was ejected from this game for punching Deuce Latui as Hightower carries it for 5. Lance Briggs on the stop. If you go back to the 05-06 seasons, the Chicago defense, that's really where this franchise hung its hat. The defense was 1st in opponents' points per game, 3rd in total yards per game those 2 years, 1st in opponents' passer rating. 07 through this season, 18th in opponents' points per game, 22nd in total yards per game. It's become a rather average defense. And it's 3rd down and 5. Warner underneath. Hits Doucette, and early Doucette has another Arizona 1st down, good for 6. Briggs on the stop for Chicago. The defense lost Urlacher in the 1st game with a dislocated wrist, out for the year. Trying to fill in for him with Hunter Hillenmeyer in the middle. Nick Roach at strong side linebacker. There's Urlacher. And this Arizona offense has put up 18 1st downs on the Chicago defense here in the 1st half. Warner throws for Fitzgerald. And Fitzgerald is shoved out of bounds by Tillman after a gain of 9. 2nd and 1. Handoff is on a reverse to Preston, and Preston with room to run down to the 15-yard line. You talk about getting plays in huge chunks of yards. That's what this Arizona offense has done this entire half. That good for 25.
Pretty interesting, though, the way they draw this one up. They're going to bring Doucette around, and then they bring Preston in behind that. So they initially get the one guy coming around. Well, he was in motion. They got Doucette there, but then there is Preston right in behind him. So what initially looked like they would give the ball off to Doucette, I think the defense kind of relaxed a little bit then, thinking, okay, well, that's over with. And then you've got Breston coming in right in behind it.
Season high 131 rush yards today for Arizona. Warner with time throws, and that's the tight end Becht, and Becht is in for a touchdown. Every time the Cardinals have touched it, they've taken it down the field and scored, and this crowd letting the defense for Chicago hear it. A 15-yard touchdown to Anthony Becht, and that's his first touchdown of the season.
How much time does Kurt Warner need? I mean, he stands back there, he pumps it about 3 times and comes underneath. And you know, I watched Chicago defensively a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, boy, they really look slow. They aren't playing with the same kind of speed that we're accustomed to seeing them play with. And you know, this is just downright embarrassing.
Add an 86-yard drive to the first half for Kurt Warner and company, and it ends on a 15-yard touchdown to Anthony Becht. Scored in all 4 possessions, and they've made it look easy getting it down the field, converting on 3rd downs, running the ball, a season high 131 rush yards already in this game for Arizona. But these plays are called by head coach Ken Wisenhunt. He has to be thrilled with what he's seeing. Now Rasheed Davis makes the catch on another pop-up kickoff by Rackers, who was in on the stop. And Davis is out to the 26. On that reverse to Breston, Charles Tillman hurt his shoulder and had to leave the field. Now he's helped to his feet by Larry Fitzgerald, but Fitzgerald has had his way for the most part so far in this first half.
Yeah, Tillman going into the locker room, he banged his knee also earlier in the game, injured that, but nothing has hurt as much as having Larry Fitzgerald have his way with him.
Al Afalava, by the way, is also out with a shoulder injury. His return is questionable. Cutler shows off his arm and throws a bullet into the chest of Earl Bennett, good for 20 yards. Antrell Roll on the stop, and that was an impressive throw by Jay Cutler.
Well, he doesn't lack confidence, and he doesn't lack arm strength. I mean, this is a heck of a throw right here. And Bennett, you know, he's probably their most polished wide receiver. I mean, when you think about this group, and here he is in only his 2nd season. I mean, think about it. Their #1 receiver, Devin Hester, and then Rasheed Davis. So 2 of their 5 receivers came into the league as defensive backs, and now they're wideouts.
Underneath, the pass is caught. That is Forte, good for 1 yard. That's it, and we're coming up on the 2-minute warning here in the first half in Chicago.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
Chicago defense is watching. This offense faces 2nd and 8, down by 21 points. 2 minutes left. A blitz dropped off for Forte. Good play call, and Matt Forte is down to the 31. They're going to mark him at the 30 as Calais Campbell downfield makes the play, a 20-yard catch and run.
Well, they hit Arizona with what you said, Joe, the right play. I mean, they've got a blitz coming off the edge, and you've got Cutler who's able to navigate that free blitzer, and then Cruz is out in front, and a nice pickup.
A big 20-yard gain, and now the pass is caught. That's Olsen, and a penalty flag comes in the secondary, and it's pass interference. The initial call is against Chicago.
It looked like it might have even been on Greg Olsen.
Pass interference, offense number 82. 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
That wipes away a 16-yard catch by Olsen, and we go back and take a look.
There it is. I mean, you come in, and that's what a lot of these bangers at tight end, they like to do. They come in, they lower the shoulder, hoping that if they don't extend the arm that they can get away with a little bit of a shove. and create the separation, and that's why Greg Olsen was as open as he was.
Instead of a 1st and 10 at the Arizona 14, it's 1st and 20 at the Arizona 40. Down by 21 points. All 3 timeouts remaining for the Bears. Cutler throws, and the pass is dropped by Devin Hester. No flag. Ware and Rogers Cromartie were there for Arizona, and the crowd wanted a flag on number 29.
Yeah, I could see where they might want the flag. It was just hard to tell whether or not there was contact over the top. Cromartie certainly had his hand in there, and it was still almost a great catch by Devin Hester being able to pull that in. Ball just coming out late.
2nd down and 20. Cutler buying some time, throws over the middle and behind Hester. Devin Hester, the intended receiver, and he had literally 5 Arizona Cardinals around him.
When you're looking at 2nd and 20, I mean, you've got to try to force the ball down the field. Watch Earl Bennett here. He's done a pretty good job here today. They've got 2 guys on him, you know, so there's nowhere to go with the football there, and that's been what's been challenging here for Jay Cutler. He's had to force some throws, almost had an interception because of a forced throw on that last play, but even the play before to Devin Hester, 2 guys on him, and every throw is pretty much being contested right now.
Pass is complete. That's the rookie Knox. He makes a spin to the 30. It'll be 10 yards shy of a 1st down. McFadden on the tackle. And with under a minute to go on the clock, the kicking unit came onto the field and they get pulled off.
Well, it looks to me like they're going to let this play clock wind down and leave as little time as possible for Arizona. I don't think there's any question that they're going to kick the field goal. And Arizona may in fact be calling timeout now.
And they do. They're left with 1.
Timeout Arizona. That's their 2nd.
40 seconds left. 48-yard try by Robbie Gould. Good snap, and that ball was blocked. And a chance for a return. Antrell Roll will take it out of the end zone and continue on trying to get beyond the 20 and trying to do more than that. Eventually brought down by Robbie Gould, who makes the tackle. A 59-yard return by Antrell Roll. And he returned it from 8 yards deep in the end zone. As you could see the block. And then it was up to Antrell Roll whether he wanted to take it out or not.
I tell you what, Joe, it was pretty impressive that the Arizona Cardinals even put someone back there. You know, I mean, from where they were on the field, it's one thing if you're trying just a field goal that more than likely has no chance whatsoever, but from where the Bears were, to have Roll there in case they got a hand on that or it came up short. And now you've got the Cardinals in a great position with lots of time to get points off of this drive.
Here's Preston making the catch, and he's to the 41. It was Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie who got a piece of that field goal try by Robbie Gould. And
they refer to that as a 7-on-7 drill. It's very favorable to the offense because there is no pass rush, and that's what this has looked like. I mean, Kurt Warner and these receivers have just had their way this entire half throwing the ball.
It's 2nd down and 2. Clock runs. Fitzgerald makes the catch down to the 25-yard line. Arizona is out of timeouts, and so they do a nice job of getting up to the line, and Warner has had just about as perfect a first half as you can put together. With 2 seconds left, he clocks the ball, and we'll have a field goal try by Neil Rackers.
I mean, it's just I don't even know what to say as far as what we have watched here in this first half by the Chicago Bears. I mean, offensively, they really have not been that bad. They've had drives that have been killed because of poor plays. Hester getting stopped on the reverse, a sack, a pass interference call on Greg Olsen. But this defense and special teams just been awful.
Here is Rackers adding more points as he drills a 43-yard field goal. Really, for the most part, the Bears have been able to move the ball from time to time. Cutler had a decent first half. A couple of drives stalled. But other than that, the real story of the first half of this game had to do with the Arizona offense and the Chicago defense, or lack of defense. Johnny Knox waits for the kick. Almost broke one in the first half.
Well, the best thing for the Bears is that the Cardinals are not getting the opening kickoff here of the second half. Otherwise, it might be 38-7 before the offense got the ball back.
The Cardinals have scored every time they've touched it. 5 drives with 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Knox will take it out. And Johnny Knox makes it across the 20, but not much more. Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
No, Lovie Smith said it's just time to start from scratch on defense. He was obviously very disappointed in Tommy Harris's ejection. He said it's pretty much ridiculous for him to put us in that position. Meantime, Ken Wisenhunt, well, he said, you know what, that early 3rd and 10 really gave the offense a lot of confidence. He said also the loss of the Bears, Tommy Harris, has opened up a lot of things for them inside. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much. And that's certainly the case for the running game, the ground game of Arizona. They've taken it right through the heart of this Chicago defense.
It's a great point that Ken Wisenhunt made regarding the 3rd down. They've struggled coming into this game, but yet they converted every one of them in the first half.
Here's a throw to Hester. Out on the edge, gets his hand into the face of Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, and a 14-yard catch and run for Devin Hester.
You know, that last possession for Chicago, when it looked like they were moving the ball well, as they were, and then they had the pass interference penalty on Greg Olsen. If they had been able to come away with any points on that drive, that would have, you know, really helped them out. And now opening up this second half with the ball, I mean, clearly when you're down 24 points, you've got to be able to come away with some points of your own on virtually every drive.
Now Hester on the other side of the field. Short throw, and Rodgers-Cromartie on the stop again, a gain of 6. Let's talk about Hester. Do you think Devin Hester is a quote-unquote go-to or top-flight receiver, or is he better suited maybe inside as the years go on?
I don't think he's a number 1, and yet that's what he is for this team. And you know, as a slot receiver, can he be a good receiver? But I think it's a little bit of a stretch to think someone who has been a kick return guy, a defensive back, yeah, he played a little receiver in college, can step in and be a go-to number 1 guy in the National Football League.
2nd down and 4. Cutler backpedaling as he throws it right through the hands of Desmond Clark. 3rd down.
And Joe, I think there are some that would say, well, but that's kind of what he's been for this team, and they're right. I mean, he's a leading receiver. He's the guy who, you know, can create some big plays, but I think that's kind of, that illustrates some of the problems right now with this team, in that they've got guys at the wide receiver position that are probably 1 or 2 spots removed from where they should be. I think Jay Cutler, when they traded for him, you know, he really put a spotlight on some of the deficiencies in the other areas of this team. Wide receiver, offensive line, some of the things that have not been addressed here in recent years.
It's 3rd down and 4. Cutler's in trouble, and down he goes again. And that has been par for the course for Jay Cutler, who has got to be thoroughly frustrated with the protection. 3 defensive players around him, and O'Keefer will get credit. A loss of 11.
Well, it's just, hey, let's meet at the quarterback and pressure in the middle and then off the corners. And you know, for the most part there in the first half, Jay Cutler got some time to throw the ball, did not on that play.
So a couple of throws to Devin Hester, and then nothing after that. A punt. Steve Breaston waiting deep. Maynard will kick it away. Line drive punt. And on a hop, it's Breaston. Initially was going to let it go, but it basically came right to him. 1st and 10 for Arizona at their own 31, up by 24 points. Toss to Tim Hightower, running left. Hightower out to the 35. Look at the end of this play. Jay Cutler And watch his face and head just go right into the turf on that sack. And for Cutler, Troy, as he's getting checked out by the team doctor, he's been sacked 17 times, hit a ton more. He was sacked 11 times all of last year with the Denver Broncos.
A little different supporting cast here in Chicago from what he had there in Denver, and not just, as you mentioned, offensive line.
Here is Larod Stevens-Howling picking up 5, and already it's been a day with some lost players. Garrett Wolf is out with a bad back. Charles Tillman with a bad shoulder out. Same for Afalava. And Tommy Harris was ejected on the 4th play for a punch to the face mask of Deuce Latui. It's 3rd down and 1 for Arizona. Beanie Wells gets it and picks up the 1st down, and again takes Danielle Manning for a little ride of 7 yards.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit earlier how much fun it looked like Kurt Warner was having after a very difficult afternoon last week. You know, there in Arizona against Carolina. If you can't have fun no matter who you are in a game like this, then you shouldn't be playing. I mean, these running backs, Beanie Wells, Tim Hightower, they're getting an opportunity, and with success in that first half, they're now getting an opportunity throughout the rest of this game to see if they can continue to run the football. A lot of things the Cardinals are now given the opportunity to work on with this lead that they have.
Here is Beanie Wells. Well, a few times he's been stopped. A short gain. A gain of only 2. And look at the possessions. I just want to say one name as you look at this. Ben Graham. He's the name of that's the punter for Arizona, and he has not been talked about at all.
And the only reason that was a field goal was because it was at the end of the half. They didn't have any more time. They had to kick it before they had a chance to go all the way down the field. I mean, you don't get a lot of days like that as an offense. And
how about here in Chicago against the Bears defense, which right now looks like a shadow of its former self. 2nd down and 8, and that's right through the hands of Hightower, with Hillenmeyer sizing him up. 3rd and 8.
Well, what we've seen today with Arizona running the football, a little bit like New Orleans, and I'm not certainly going to put them in that class at this time, but New Orleans in previous years being able to throw the football the way that they were able to. This year, finally, with a running game. Now, the Cardinals had not run the ball like this at all this year, and this is their first time, but I know it's what Ken Wisenhunt would like to get more to. The balance of the run and the pass, similar to what he did there as offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. They get the running game going here. I tell you, this team's going to be really tough.
3rd down and 8. Good pocket for Warner, who hits Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald makes the catch, now working on Zachary Bowman. A 17-yard completion.
Yeah, now they've got Bowman on him because Charles Tillman, as we showed, is no longer in the game. And you know, they're still giving him a lot of one-on-one coverage. And when you're off, I mean, I said earlier in the broadcast, he prefers a corner up pressed on him so he can use his size. But he's got some speed, so if you play off, he can pressure you with speed, and still, I mean, it's just pitch and catch.
On 1st down, Warner gets hit as he lets it go and completes it again to Fitzgerald.
Exact same play that they just ran a moment ago. Only this time they put Bowman up in press, realizing, hey, we can't stop him if we're off. Let's come up and at least try to knock him off course. And not a great thrown ball there by Kurt Warner, but these are the types of catches that Larry Fitzgerald makes. I mean, that's pretty exceptional. And the other part of it is to extend like that, knowing that there's a safety there that can put a hit on you. There are surprisingly a lot more receivers than not that won't go and make that play.
And doing all this without the presence of Anquan Bolden on the other side, who's inactive with a bad ankle. Here is Hightower, won't go down. They eventually call him with forward progress. A loss of 5, and Adonijay was the first guy there for Chicago.
There's Anquan Bolden, and he was a guy that Chicago was looking at one time this offseason about bringing, you know, here, and they decided, Chicago did, they didn't want to give up what the Cardinals were asking for. I'm not going to dispute that. I mean, every organization knows what they can and cannot afford to give up. but there is no doubt in my mind he would have been a great addition to this Bears offense. I mean, if you're going to go out and get Cutler, they really need to surround him with some good players. Otherwise, it's pointless to have brought him in.
Here's a quick throw, and out there is the big tight end, Ben Patrick, who just waited for the football, and it finally got their gain of 9. Thumbs up to Kurt Warner, and it's 3rd down.
This has probably been what has been most surprising to me, is how involved these tight ends have been. We've seen a touchdown by Patrick, also Beck, and now they're getting the ball also in the middle of the field. I mean, last year, Ben Patrick led the tight end position, and all he had was 11 receptions, which was 9th on the team overall. So just not a position that they throw the ball too much, but they've gotten it to him here today.
3rd down and 6. And dropping it off for Hightower, who drops another. There was room to run behind him. Blitz coming from Chicago, and the Bears fans standing up saying we finally stopped him without a half running out with under 8 to play. A field goal try coming up.
Small victories.
It's baby steps. 8 for 9 on 3rd down are the Arizona Cardinals, and this will be a 30-yard try for Rackers, who hit from 43 at the end of the first half. Good snap, good hold, good kick. Danielle Manning will wait for the kick. Offensive line has done a great job for Arizona. Jay Cutler will head back to the field. Sacked the last time he had the football. Sacked twice today. And 17 times for the season. Manning on the run to catch it at the 5. Danielle Manning on the return, room to run. Making a couple of moves and out to the 40. Take a look at the NFC North. Minnesota's off today. 7-1. The big lead in the division. Then a couple of 4-3 teams with Chicago and Green Bay. Now Kreutz doesn't snap it. Everybody else moves. Should be a false start. The center never moved the football.
False start, offense, number 67, 5-yard penalty. It's 1st down.
They could take their pick. They get Beekman, who was inserted last week, back at the guard spot. Started there all of last year.
Josh Beekman's wondering why they called him out, because you're right. I mean, they could have called anybody, but on the stat sheet, it's going to go down as though he was the one charged with the false start.
And now Kreutz with a flinch. That should be on 57. The 6-time Pro Bowler.
False start, illegal snap. Center, number 57. 5-yard penalty. 1st down.
I thought high school football was played on Friday.
Well, sometimes Saturday. And today it's moved a day deeper into the week.
Wow.
This could really be, as you look at what's going on here, the second humiliating defeat for the Bears in the last 3 weeks. They were taken apart at Cincinnati. They were not all that great, but they got a home win against Cleveland. Here's a catch by Bennett, and Bennett is finally shoved out of bounds at the Arizona 41 by Adrian Wilson. But they've got to get something going just to try and pull this thing out of the, devastating, embarrassing, humiliating, whatever word you want to use, category.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, last week with a win against Cleveland, even though offensively they didn't play particularly well, but they got throttled the week before that against Cincinnati. And even Lovie Smith talking about it. Hey, the season really matters in November and December. That's when you make your run. This isn't the way to get it going.
That one slipped out of the hand of Cutler in the direction of Forte. And when we showed the look at the standings in the NFC North, how realistic is it to think that a wild card team is going to come out of the North with what's going on in the NFC East? I mean, Arizona's in a great spot playing in the NFC West. But here's Chicago staring at a 4-4 start. Green Bay is leading their game. If you look at the other division, they've lost to Atlanta, the Chicago Bears have, and they trail the 7-1 Minnesota Vikings. Forget about November and December. For the Chicago Bears, they're in a bad position as Forte carries it and picks up 6.
Yeah, I mean, this league, as we well know, it changes from week to week. About every 2 weeks, the landscape of the NFL is different. You know, a few weeks back, we thought the Giants were the best team in the NFC. That certainly has changed. New Orleans in that position, Minnesota. But I agree. I do not see a wild card team coming out of the North. I mean, the South with Atlanta, possibly, and I think then in the NFC East.
Here is a ball that is thrown but incomplete. One official saying incomplete, the other saying a catch and forward progress stopped, and now they're saying incomplete. So 2 different calls on the play.
Incomplete. Fourth down.
You know, even if he catches this ball, he's not anywhere close to picking up this first down. I mean, he's going to be short if he's able to haul that one in. You know, he got to the sticks, but then when he comes back to the ball, he's about a good yard, 2 yards short. So even if they had ruled that he'd caught it, it wouldn't have really mattered.
It's 4th down and 4. The only saving grace, if you want to call it that, is that the Bears have their 2 remaining dates left with Minnesota. And that's the good news or the bad news. 4th and 4. Cutler throws and incomplete for Olsen. No penalty flag on the play, and Olsen is shocked that there's no foul call. So taking over on downs, they just threw a flag within the last 4 seconds.
Joe, I think they threw it on Greg Olsen. He was John with the official in that area that threw the flag.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct. Chicago, number 6. 15-yard penalty. Arizona's ball, first down.
So they get Jay Cutler.
Here's another look at that 4th down play. Greg Olsen there. He's going to run a little bit of a pivot route, but you're going to see the hold. Adrian Wilson got his right arm clearly around the waist of Greg Olsen, and it should have been pass interference. And how the official right there looking at it doesn't catch that is beyond me, but you still can't react the way Jay Cutler did and take that penalty.
Brings the ball to midfield as Beanie Wells picks up 3 over the right side, and Jay Cutler has got to be thinking about the big picture. His old team, the Denver Broncos, are 6-1 on top in the AFC West. And you start comparing Cutler's numbers after 7 games to Kyle Orton's numbers after 7 games a year ago in a Chicago Bears uniform as quarterback, and actually the numbers favor Kyle Orton, and the cast, there is no doubt, is way too short here in Chicago as Breston can't get to that throw from Kurt Warner, and it's 3rd down.
You know, I just know in covering the Bears over the last several years that everybody would focus on the quarterback play. Rex Grossman, Kyle Orton. If we just had a quarterback, you know, how much better would we be? And in some regards that may have been true. But I do think that because of the focus being on the quarterback, it hid a lot of other deficiencies within this football team. Clearly this isn't the defense that it was a few years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, but they haven't addressed offensive line, they haven't addressed wide receiver, and so even with a quarterback who I think is an improvement, really helps them, he can't do it alone.
Passes for Jeremy Urban. First time Warner has thrown his direction, and it's a stop on 3rd down, and we will see number 5 Ben Graham for the Arizona Cardinals as this crowd, and these great Chicago fans, they don't leave. They're still packed in at Soldier Field. They kind of give a Bronx cheer to the defense on its way off the field.
Well, these fans are terrific, whether it's football fans or Cub fans. This is a special place for their sports teams, and they're smart too. I mean, they're knowledgeable about the games and the sports that they cover.
Graham puts the nose of the football down, kicks in the direction of Devin Hester, and it's well covered downfield. 5.5 to play, 3rd quarter, and Jay Cutler takes over at his own 3. Handoff is to Forte. He's out to the 5. Gain of just 2. Chike O'Keefer on the stop for Arizona. You look at the Bears offensive leaders. Been a 224-yard day for Jay Cutler, but only 7 points on the board. 33 yards rushing. The ground game taken out of play because of the score. As Cutler, as all day, throws down the middle of the field and overthrows Devin Hester. Showed off the arm strength, but it was too much, and Devin Hester couldn't get there with Rogers Cromartie right there with him. It's 3rd down and 8. And as you look at the Bears and you talk about some of the holes they need to fill going forward, as they've found their quarterback, they believe they're without a 1st-round pick and a 2nd-round pick in next year's draft. 1st-round pick part of the package to get Jay Cutler, and the 2nd-round pick was just traded away by the front office and Jerry Angelo to get Gaines Adams, who had disappointed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with his play. Defensive end. Cutler trying to set up a screen. He does for Forte. Makes a move. Penalty flag comes down. And Forte is down the sideline and out of bounds near the 40. Let's see if this is coming back. 35-yard play.
Holding. Offense number 57. Half the distance to the goal. Repeat 3rd down.
That's Olin Kreutz with Jay Cutler standing in the back of the end zone the entire time. He knew the call that was coming.
Well, he's the center there, and we'll see if in fact he did hold. He gets run over there by Carlos Dansby, and you know, he had his right arm behind his head, but I don't know that was holding either. I agree with Olin Kreutz on that one, that there was a collision, and Dansby just kind of went through him, and it was just happened to be where his arm was when he went to the ground, but I don't think he's the one who pulled him to the ground. And that's unfortunate because they finally got something going there, and when you're backed up, it's hard to do, hard to get a 1st down. They not only got the 1st down, but they got significant yardage that didn't count.
35-yard play is wiped away as Cutler throws it incomplete for Bennett. And it was at Foxborough, Chris, where the Miami Dolphins unveiled the Wildcat last year, a 38-13 win over New England. Now they lead by 1.
And that's who we have to thank for all that.
The Wildcat.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of teams have tried it. Not many have had much success with it.
Maynard punts it. Preston waits for it. And on the Arizona side of midfield, Rasheed Davis makes the play. Good play by Davis.
Playing very well right now. They have their hands full tonight in Philadelphia.
On 1st down, here's Tim Hightower. To the other side of midfield of the Chicago 49, Kevin Payne on the stop, a gain of 8.
You know, that Green Bay team, we saw them last week against Minnesota. They got their hands full today against Tampa Bay, last I saw. And a team that a lot is expected from, but they're having some troubles too. I mean, this league is interesting right now. There's very few teams that are just playing exceptional football. And then there's a few teams that are playing really bad. Well, a lot of teams just up and down from one week to the next still as we hit the midway point of the year.
It's 2nd down and 2. Handoff is to Hightower. This Arizona ground game prior to that play averaging 7.4 yards per run. Lance Briggs, the first one there, depends on the spot as to whether it's enough for a 1st down for Arizona.
You know, my guess is that, you know, Kurt's happy. Kurt Warner's probably happy that they're able to do some things, run the football, kind of get that going a little bit, but yet he's throwing it so well, and you get into these type of games where you just see the field very well. You got guys that are open. You just want to keep throwing it no matter what the score is. And we saw him a little bit earlier when they were off the field talking with Ken Wisenhunt. My guess is he was saying, hey, let's kind of keep this thing going a little bit if we can.
It's 3rd down and 1. Handoff is to Beanie Wells, who gets hit in the backfield, and the Chicago defense holds. Anthony Adams, the first one there, a loss of 1 on the play, so it's 4th down for Arizona.
Well, the defense comes out here in this 2nd half, and they hold Arizona to a field goal on the first possession, and then they've stopped them since then. The only problem is offensively, the Bears haven't been able to get anything going, and as we said, they moved the ball there in the 1st half, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is whether or not you're scoring points.
Devin Hester will wait for the Ben Graham punt. Bears will get it back with under 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. And it'll be a delay of game call against Arizona.
Delay of game offense. The penalty is declined. It's 4th down.
Here it's been one-sided. 34-7. And Graham pops it up. Devin Hester makes the catch and hops out of bounds. So we can talk about this game, or we can look ahead to next week. I should know this, but did you ever get a chance in your career to play at Lambeau Field, where the Dallas Cowboys will be next Sunday?
I played there in '97, and we didn't do real well. We weren't real good at the time. Played there in Milwaukee, actually, in '91. It was the last year that they had games in Milwaukee. Both teams are on the same sidelines in that venue, which was pretty interesting.
And so we'll have another look at an NFC North team next week with the Green Bay Packers. You saw him last week against Brett Favre and the Minnesota Vikings. I think you're right. Favre has to be, and the Vikings have to be thrown into that category as, if not the best, with New Orleans being the other consideration, one of the best in the NFC.
No doubt. There's no real glaring weaknesses when you look at the Minnesota Vikings. And yes, you can nitpick and say, well, maybe they could be a little bit better in this area or this area. But that's true about virtually every team. I think from top to bottom, they're about as solid as they come. However, I will tell you that at this time, I like New Orleans simply because if they get home field advantage, I don't see anybody beating them at home. And you look at their schedule, it's pretty favorable right now for them.
There's a holding call on Rashid Davis. That's why the Bears start near their own end zone, and they are no longer near their own end zone after that completion to Earl Bennett, good for 20 yards with a minute left in the third quarter.
That was a heck of a throw right there by Jay Cutler, showing off that arm that he has, and not surprising that it went to Earl Bennett. These guys were teammates at Vanderbilt, and I know Jay Cutler has a lot of confidence in Earl Bennett being where he's supposed to be. Not the fastest guy, but very dependable.
Cutler's last pass he threw in college was to Earl Bennett, as this one is to Forte. Earl Bennett, the SEC's all-time leader in receptions, and Jay Cutler hit him for a game-winning touchdown at Tennessee. The last pass he threw in college. And for Earl Bennett, there's his day. 6 catches, 81 yards, but still learning in his second year. Last year, a third-round pick out of Vandy. And the Bears will let the game clock wind down to the fourth quarter here at Soldier Field. The football. Like one of the Globetrotters, able to spin it on his finger over on the sideline as he's trying to occupy his time, with the Chicago Bears trailing by 27. And pass is complete. That's Desmond Clark. Good for 6 yards. And we will see Matt Leinart as we make our way through this fourth quarter. So an opportunity for him, as Kurt Warner, it appears, will sit the rest of this one out. Leinart getting ready, helmet is on, and right now looking at his defense, trying to make a stop on 3rd and 4. Warner 20 of 29, 233 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Threw 5 picks last week at home against Carolina. Here is Cutler, and a completion to Devin Hester. 16 yards to Devin Hester, and a first down in midfield. Jay Cutler's quarterback rating, if you're into stats, is over 100 on the day. 103.9 prior to that throw. His team's in his career 13-0 when he's got a quarterback rating over 100. That'll change one way or the other. Either his quarterback rating will drop down below, and that wouldn't change the stat, or the first loss will go on the record of Jay Cutler as he throws for Hester. the combination these two have been over the last 4 weeks now, and that's 13 yards, another first down.
Well, I think that Chicago offensively is actually, as I said a little bit earlier, playing decent. I mean, now you got to score points. They got to finish this drive and come away with some points. But Jay Cutler had been struggling, for the 3 previous games. Even last week, winning that game, didn't play particularly well. Prior to this week, the previous 3 games, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But he's thrown the ball pretty well.
On first down, Desmond Clark, it's out of his reach. And Cutler ends up back on a knee back near midfield. 2nd and 10.
I'm a little surprised, Joe. One, I was surprised they didn't get a playoff there at the end of that 3rd quarter. You want to get as many snaps as you can when you're sitting here looking at a 27-point deficit. They're not in any kind of hurry up. I'm a little bit surprised by that. And I say that because if you're just going to kind of go through the motions here and finish out this game and see what happens, I don't know that I really want Jay Cutler then out there playing quarterback. And if you're going to try to make a run at this thing, then I think there's got to be a little more urgency in getting some plays run.
Here's Forte on a screen. There's a big play for the Chicago offense, down to the 10, and he's on a body down to the 9. Adrian Wilson on the stop. 28 yards on the catch and run by Matt Forte.
Well, they have had some success now with the screen pass. We saw the one earlier that got called back, but they're getting the lineman out in front. And Olin Kreutz, who's had a tough day today, he's exceptional in terms of his ability to still get out and lead on the screen. For a guy who's been in the league 12 years, still moves pretty well.
Cutler's over 300 yards on the afternoon, but still only 7 points. Cutler throws, and the pass caught by Olsen. Got his hands around the body of Adrian Wilson.
And we saw Cutler, he kind of had to hold the ball for a minute. I think he was hoping that Olsen would just stop at the top of this route because there's a hole right there. Instead, he then has to go past Adrian Wilson, 24, before Cutler can turn it loose. Right there, he wants to throw it, but Olsen stays on the move, and he had to wait till he got to the next window to turn it loose.
Now on 2nd and goal, the pass to the end zone for Olsen, touchdown. His 2nd of the day. Enough protection for Cutler, and he was able to wait for Greg Olsen to get open.
And it was because of protection that he was able to do it, because he wanted to go to Earl Bennett, and they had 2 guys there. But because you've got the underneath coverage of Roll coming up on Bennett, it opened up that lane then to Greg Olsen behind it. And we've seen Adrian Wilson on Greg Olsen a few times here, and that's pretty favorable for the Bears, and has been.
Has one for 33 yards, and now this one for 3. On a beautiful day in Chicago. Crowd still in their seats, far side of the field, enjoying the sunshine here on the 8th of November. 3-yard touchdown catch for Olsen. First multi-touchdown game of the career of Greg Olsen. First round pick out of Miami in 2007. One for 33 yards, the last one for 3. And now on the return, the Rod Stevens howling is out across the 20, knocked down at the 22. Richard Den, one of the great amateur golfers in the Chicago area. Leinart throws off his back foot, and the pass is intercepted, but a flag is down. Penalty flags all over. Now they're saying incomplete anyway. But there are 3 flags down on the play as Kevin Payne almost came away with a pick, but let's take a look. Back to the intended receiver. There's Payne flashing through, and the ball dropped. Defender never got his head around. It could be interference.
That's hard on a defender. You saw Nick Roach running with him.
Interference, defense. Number 53 was not playing the ball. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Yeah, the pickup on the blitz by Beanie Wells was outstanding. I mean, this is the area that they want to see him continue to get better at. And he was able to make a good block on Mark Anderson, but this is really hard. I mean, you got Nick Roach, clearly it's pass interference, but he's running to keep stride with Beck, and an underthrown ball is hard on any defender.
So first down at the 41, and Benny Wells carries it over the right side and pushes for an extra yard. Gets a couple. The day for Kurt Warner, 20 of 29, 233 yards, 4 touchdowns, and his 8th career game of 4 or more touchdowns, and he made it look easy in the first half. Not as easy here in the second half. And Matt Leinart, who was the first-round pick out of USC in 06, who has a career record as a starter of 7 and 9, 14 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. As those numbers for the year: 7 of 10, 45 yards. Hand off to Wells, and Wells is out to the 46.
I think after that first down pass that could have been intercepted. Well, Ken Wisenhunt said, I think we'll just kind of keep this one on the ground and take some time off the clock. And we showed the numbers of Kurt Warner. I thought it was interesting in talking with Kurt about, he said, hey, if we're going to be regarded as a good football team, we've got to be more consistent. They said they couldn't go on the road and win on the East Coast. They did that, but then they followed that up with a tough loss last week against Carolina. Next week, the Cardinals host Seattle, and they know that they need to start putting some wins together and winning some of these games and not losing the games that they're expected to win.
Leinart throws for Fitzgerald, and it's picked off by Bowman. Chicago trying to make it a game, and Zachary Bowman is down inside the 30. This game is not completely out of reach. A 20-point game, and Matt Leinart throws an interception.
Well, they're telling Kurt Warner to get warmed back up. He'll be coming in. But look at Larry Fitzgerald. He was never looking for the ball. They're like, or he was, but it was not thrown on the timing that Larry Fitzgerald was expecting it. And that ball's got to be thrown up the seam. So a pass that clearly got away from Matt Leinart. And the discussion there, and you saw Kurt Warner kind of nod his head. I'd be shocked if, well, I say that if Chicago scores a touchdown here, my guess is that Kurt Warner's going to be coming back into this ball game. But those are the throws. When you haven't been working with some of these guys like Kurt has in practice, that you don't have the timing down.
20-point game. Cutler and the Bears have life, and that one ends up through the hands of Hester. The 41-yard return after the interception by Zachary Bowman, his 2nd interception of the season. And there's still 9:50 left in this game.
There's still 9:50 left, but I still kind of go back to the fact that if this Bears team had shown a little more urgency, earlier in this half, they would have more time on the clock. I mean, it's just now that they're starting to say, hey, maybe this thing isn't over yet.
Throw for the rookie Knox. Some blocking in front of him, and Knox brought down by Antrell Roll after a gain of 8.
And Olin Kreutz out there once again kind of leading the way for Johnny Knox. I mean, for a center to snap the ball and then get all the way out there and be as impactful as he is, you're going to see him 57 there. I mean, he takes off and then he causes the seal block, creates the seal, which allows Knox then to stay to the outside along that sideline.
It's 3rd down and 2. Cutler throws. Olsen has his 3rd. And the Bears are back in it.
And you saw Olin Kreutz after he caught that. He knew a collision was coming. I mean, he knew there was a safety there, that he was going to take a hit. And Olsen is able to protect himself at the end of this one. And right there, he saw it, but a nice job of hanging in there, making the catch, knowing that there was a good chance he was going to take a hit.
And with that little duck down at the end, he avoided pretty much all contact. And it's a 3-touchdown day for Greg Olsen. And just like that, it's a 13-point game. We'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, watching today's broadcast in 177 countries on AFN, the American Forces Network. And thanks for all you do Hope you're enjoying today's telecast, which just got a lot more interesting after an interception of Matt Leinart by Bowman. A quick strike by Jay Cutler to Greg Olsen. Those two have hooked up for all 3 touchdowns. And a game that was 31-7 at the half. At one point 34-7 is now 34-21, and the Bears have scored 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes and 46 seconds. And for all those fans who stayed around to enjoy the day here at Soldier Field, now they're back into the game. And Kurt Warner is back into the game. Pass is caught by Fitzgerald, so right back into the action. A flag is down, and a quick strike to Fitzgerald.
Personal foul, leg whip, offense number 69. Half the distance to the goal, repeat first down.
That's Mike Gandy, the former 3rd-round pick of the Bears back in 2001, and that wipes away the completion to Fitzgerald.
Gandy at left tackle against Alex Brown, trying to roll him up, knowing that he had a quick pass, and in essence what he's trying to do is just get his hands down. That's what you want to do with those defensive ends, but you saw the leg come up, and that's what Ed Hockley saw and threw the flag on. You know, they needed a play, momentum changing obviously with the touchdown by the Bears, and who do they go to? They come right back to Larry Fitzgerald on the slant.
Fitzgerald on the inside with Danielle Manning across from him. On first down, Warner's in trouble, and down he goes. Ball comes out. Arizona takes it back. Back near their own 5. Gandy ended up recovering the fumble by Warner.
Boy, the Bears, they were able to get the pressure finally up front with a 4-man rush off the edge. Ogunleye and Alex Brown, they push Mike Gandy. Brown does right into Kurt Warner. And the Cardinals are fortunate there. Gandy's the one who gives up the hit, but at least he's able to then recover the fumble.
It's a 13-point game. Cardinals are backed up inside their own 5, 2nd and 25. A blitz coming. Warner throws incomplete. And now this Bears team has life, and so does this crowd. It's 3rd and 25.
Well, those were 3 straight plays by Alex Brown. On this 3rd down play, he goes right through Gandy again, 96, and he gets the push right back into Kurt Warner's face. A good job by him. Anthony Adams on the inside doing a good job also.
Bears fans, and I'm sure the media will say what took so long to get some life with this defense. It's 3rd down and 25. Play clock winding down. Warner steps out of the end zone and fires. The pass is caught and brought down inside the 30 is Breston, and he appears to be short of the first down. If you look at the marker on the far side, the nose of the football had to cross the 30-yard line, and it does not. 7.5 minutes left to play, and we could have a measurement here. And Ed Hockley says we don't need a measurement. It's short of the first down. 4th down, Arizona.
So a good tackle there by Corey Graham, and that was close. But I'm sure as much as Ken Wisenhunt would like to go for it here and take more time down off the clock, you just can't. You got to punt it. But still, a good completion by Kurt Warner, you know, getting off the goal line and then reestablishing field position for his defense.
So now a punt from Ben Graham, his 3rd of the day, and a challenge. Ken Wisenhunt's going to challenge the spot of the football. And I don't know that this is a bad challenge. I think when you look at that play, I think you kind of started to go there.
Arizona's challenging the forward progress spot.
The body of Breston is on top of the body of the tackler, Corey Graham. Troy and I still think it was worth another look, but when you take a look, runner is down when anything other than the ball, the foot, or the hand is down, and the arm comes down there.
The elbow was down before the ball reached the line. Therefore, the ruling on the field stands. It is 4th down. Arizona's charged with a timeout.
And you could see that the arm came down, and so the call on the field stands, the proper call. Well handled by this officiating crew on the move, and it's 4th down.
Yeah, good job there by the officials on the spot. They were right on top of it. And as you said, Joe, a challenge well worth it for Ken Wisenhunt.
Still over 7 minutes left in this 4th quarter as Graham keeps it away from Devin Hester. Now on one bounce, comes right to him. He's got nowhere to go. And he's backed up inside his own 20. We go back to the game 3 years ago. No penalty flags as the two teams.
At least he's making some money off a beer company with that outburst.
And it was Chicago winning it on an 83-yard Devin Hester punt return. Bears trying to come back on Arizona again. Here is Knox, the rookie, and a juggle, no catch. Brian McFadden was there defending for Arizona, and Knox almost came up with that grab.
Yeah, Cutler tried to get this out there as best he could. It was underthrown. Knox tries coming back and had a chance. Would have been a tough catch. And they could have easily called pass interference on that play. A little bit like what we saw with Nick Roach, the linebacker for Chicago. That is hard on those defensive players in pass defense on underthrown balls.
Bears with all 3 of their timeouts left. 6:56 on the clock. 2nd and 10. Down by 13. This one's batted into the air and incomplete. Okay, that was going to be a dangerous throw out here to Devin Hester with Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie bearing down on the play, and it's 3rd and 10. Clark Hagan's got his hand on the pass and knocked it up into the air. So some life here after a dismal first half for the Bears. Trailed 31-3, outgained 320 yards to 74, allowed 21 first downs and gained only 4 offensively. On 3rd and 10, Cutler throws over the middle and right into the defense. Pass is picked off by Matt Ware, an extra defensive back in the game, and the interception by Jay Cutler. With his team down by 13 points, could put in essence an end to this comeback effort.
Yeah, and all Jay Cutler's trying to do here is give his team a chance. I mean, he can't hold it any longer. He's got to throw it. He takes the hit there at the end of that play, but just nobody creating any separation for him, and he throws it thinking that Earl Bennett is going to stay on the move. And Earl Bennett should have stayed on the move. If he's got a square in, then he comes in front of the safety, and it's not an interception.
Handoff is to Hightower. Hightower over the right side picks up 2. For Matt Ware, 76th game, and it's his first career interception. And for Cutler, second 300-yard day, but that interception to go with his 3 touchdown throws to Greg Olsen hurts. 2nd and 8 for Arizona, up by 13. Hightower over the right side, lowers his shoulder and picks up a first down. and right through Kevin Payne and a gain of 9.
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I mean, this guy is running hard today. That was a heck of a collision at the end of that run.
Right through Kevin Payne. And a first down with 5.5 left in the game.
You know, there's a lot for Arizona to feel good about, particularly in that first half and the way that they threw the ball. But I think the thing that they're going to get the most of, you know, from this game is the way that they ran it, both Beanie Wells and Tim Hightower.
Here's Hightower, cuts up field after starting out to the left and picks up 2. Lance Briggs on the stop. You're paying attention to these scores. Green Bay still leading. Plenty of time left in the game at Tampa Bay, in a rather tight game with the Packers and Buccaneers, and Atlanta taking apart the Washington Redskins. There's the difference in the rush yards. Chicago 34 rush yards on the afternoon. Cardinals up by 13 and moving in again. Warner throws, pass is caught, and no signal yet. Now touchdown to Steve Breaston. So a touchdown is the call, but now the officials get together, and now the ball, by the time it was handled, I think Breaston corralled it and got it into the end zone.
Well, I think he caught it, and now it's just a matter of once he regained control, you know, was he across the goal line? That I'm not so sure of. I mean, he definitely caught it, but I'm not so sure that it was a touchdown.
It is right now being called a touchdown. Ed Hockley signaled it to verify the call, and for Kurt Warner, his 5 touchdown passes ties a career high.
And he can thank that touchdown pass to Matt Leinart for throwing the interception and getting him back in the game.
This to make it a 20-point game from Rackers. 4.5 to go. Piers will carry with them a 5-3 record and a moment of consolation for Matt Leinart after throwing that pick.
Yeah, and I mean, his expression said it all. I mean, he's frustrated. The guy came here to be the franchise quarterback, and it hasn't gone as well as what he would have liked. And you know, now he'll be going back in the game, assuming that Arizona gets the ball back, and that's in light of the interception. I can understand where he would have some reservations about going back in and playing, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with Matt Leinart when Kurt Warner is done, whether that's here in Arizona or somewhere else, as far as whether or not he goes on to be a productive quarterback in this league. He certainly has the skills to do that.
Rackers pops up another. Donajay lets it go over his head into the arms of Rasheed Davis. Well, this was the beginning of a tough stretch in the schedule for Lovie Smith and the Chicago Bears. Next, they are at San Francisco on Thursday night. They're at home against Philadelphia, and then their first of their 2 remaining games with the Minnesota Vikings. And they've got St. Louis and Green Bay here at home, but this is not the way they wanted to start this 4-game stretch.
No, and from what I've seen of them on film, Joe, I mean, just calling it the way I see it, I just don't think the Bears are a very good football team.
Cutler is just going to throw it into the ground. And so Kurt Warner, who threw 5 interceptions last week, throws 5 touchdowns this week, and a lot of the interceptions, or a few, were circumstantial as the Cardinals watch their defense, which came in last week's game #1 against the run, allowed 270 yards to the Carolina Panthers. They came in 8th against the run this week because of that effort.
And you show Kurt Warner, we talked about him when he left New York. I mean, we all thought his career was done. He comes here to Arizona and he keeps on going, and it doesn't look like he's going to slow down anytime soon.
I mean, almost won the Super Bowl last year. Here's Knox. A yard short of a first down.
Well, you know, that guy in that gray-haired guy in Minnesota is getting a lot of attention, you know, at 40 years old, and the way that he's playing. You know, you got Kurt Warner, who's 38, and he looks every bit as young and spry as what Brett Favre has this season, and pretty remarkable the way that he's the career he had in St. Louis, and it looking like it might be over with the injuries to his hand and all that took place, and he comes here and they give him a chance, and he's been great.
He was a Pro Bowler last year. He's the only player in NFL history with 14,000 plus passing yards with 2 different teams. Over the last 2 years, number 2 to Drew Brees in passing yards, and right on his heels with everything that's been done with the Saints and that attack put together by Sean Payton. Here is Johnny Knox underneath, makes the catch, and he's to midfield, a gain of 3. Matt Ware on the stop.
And I tell you, those 2 guys right there, I mean, Roger Goodell wanted to make a statement with this league and clean things up and behavior and all that. This league couldn't have 2 better representatives than Larry Fitzgerald and Kurt Warner. I mean, 2 good guys, and 2 guys that you really root for, and there's a lot more of those guys in the league than what I think gets credit.
2nd and 7. Cutler is going to run and coast out of bounds with the Chicago first down. Talked about next week for Arizona, and they should have a healthier Anquan Boldin. They host Seattle. They're at St. Louis, at Tennessee. Pretty favorable stretch for the team that leads in the NFC West. They're at home against the Vikings, at the 49ers, at Detroit, and they finish the year at home against St. Louis and Green Bay.
Yeah, and the Cardinals are a team that was inconsistent a year ago, and yet they got hot at the right time. So even though they've been inconsistent this year, they're not panicked by that, because they've been there before and they've seen what's happened. But having said that, they know that to be regarded as a great team, they've got to do it week in and week out, year in and year out, and that's what they're striving for. But for them, it's about winning their division.
Well, an all-out blitz there from the Arizona Cardinals. They brought everybody right up the middle, and here's Cutler with his team down by 20 now, still getting hit and getting up limping and yelling over to the sideline. Nothing's easy for Jay Cutler here in 2009. 2nd and 11. And now throwing it as he backpedals and nearly intercepted by Antrell Roll. That was just up for grabs. And Cutler is hot. 3rd down and 11.
Well, there's usually not a lot of good that comes from being on the field playing in a game like this with the score what it is. You know, I mean, things haven't gone well for this team, and then you start trying to force the ball and balls get tipped, you start getting hit. And, yeah, so I'm kind of like you, Joe. I'm really surprised that he's still in the game.
3rd and 11, handoff to Peterson. And Adrian Peterson carries it forward on 3rd and 11 for 8. Or 6th round pick out of Georgia Southern. Bears with a football down by 20. 2 minutes left here at Soldier Field. Blitz coming from Arizona. That's off the hands of Devin Hester. Across the middle. And on a 4th down play, the incompletion, Arizona takes over, and the umpire right in the middle of all the action, he goes down. I've seen more officials get hit and knocked over this season than I've ever seen.
Well, no question. I mean, that's Chad Brown, the umpire, and they're talking about the competition committee. Whether or not it'll ever happen, I don't know, but they're talking about putting that guy in a helmet, because he gets hit so much. As we saw, all the crossing routes that we see these teams run, and he is, you know, they experimented a few years ago about putting him in the offensive backfield, but they didn't like that position.
Warner stays in the game, and Hightower tried to stay in bounds, but Payne rode him out. A minute 51 left, and there's a look at the offensive line. What a job by this group.
Absolutely phenomenal job by this group, and it's a group that, you know, a lot of people have looked at and said they've got to do better, and they probably did, but I don't know that they could have played any better than they did today, both in pass protection and then opening up the holes for Beanie Wells and Tim Hightower. They were exceptional, and they were the difference. I mean, they were the reason why Kurt Warner was able to sit back there and find open receivers throughout that first half.
And put together a 5-touchdown performance against this Chicago defense. And timeout is taken by Chicago. It'll be 3rd down and short for Arizona. So it'll be 3rd down and inches here for Arizona. New England still maintaining its lead over Miami. Houston, the Texans have lost 13 of 14 to the Colts, looking for their first winning season, their first playoff berth, and they're trailing by 3 to Indianapolis. Colts started the day 7-0. It's a 3-point game now with Tampa Bay leading Green Bay 31-28 with 4:14 left. So they scored a touchdown, went up by 1, and went for a 2-point conversion and made it, and lead by 3 as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look for their first win under Raheem Morris. And on 3rd and inches, Beanie Wells goes backward. It'll be 4th down, and a timeout is taken by Chicago.
I think normally right there you would have ran a quarterback sneak. My guess is they just don't want to get Kurt Warner hurt or hit any more than he needs to. And, you know, had they been able to pick up that first down, they just take a knee and run out the clock.
But as it is, Jay Cutler gets a chance to get back on the field and try and tiptoe through the tulips back there and get out of this game healthy.
I think Jay was probably hoping the Cardinals would get that first down too.
1 timeout left for Chicago. If he even does go back out there, I guess so. And it's been another painful day physically for Jay Cutler, who's hit a lot. Ben Graham will punt it. And Devin Hester will let it travel out of bounds. See, they mark it with 1:31 remaining in this game. And they're going to mark it outside the 25 at the 27. 33-yard punt, that's it, but no return by Devin Hester. And here comes Jay Cutler. He's sacked 3 times, hit 6 times. Frustrated during the better part of the day. In fact, was called for an unsportsmanlike penalty for yelling at the officials. And his Chicago Bears are looking at a 4-4 start. Here is Bennett, and Earl Bennett is upended by Bryant McFadden, who has 2 rings with the Pittsburgh Steelers and won one last year with Pittsburgh against this Arizona franchise. And there's the end of that play.
Well, for any young kids at home watching that, that's textbook tackle right there. I mean, wrapping them up, head to the chest. That's a good job there by Brian McFadden. It's rare you see a corner making tackles like that.
Out of the shotgun, Cutler is dragged down. That's Clark Higgins, and no gain on the play as Cutler gets back to the line of scrimmage. Under a minute to go, and this will be another long week for the Chicago team. Media coverage wise, there were a lot of question marks coming in. The frustration about the offense after the win last week against Cleveland. The defense will have to answer the questions this week. Physically, it'll be a short week as they have a date coming up against their old friend Mike Singletary and the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday. Here is Adrian Peterson, brought down by Ralph Brown, and that'll do it. A 15-yard run, and the victory for the Arizona Cardinals They are still unbeaten on the road, and they are 5-3 on the season. A 20-point victory